We can start. When we talk of the material costs, we are referring to the tangible inputs when we are in the production line. So they could be direct materials or indirect materials, but tangible. For example, for you to produce tea, majani chai, you need the tea leaves. So farmers have to pick the tea and bring to the factory. Then from there, you have your material to start producing the tea leaves. If it is sugar, you need the sugar canes to be delivered to the factory. Then you start building your cost. So when you are talking of the material cost classification, we can either classify it as direct or indirect. And when we talk of the direct, this refers to the materials that we can readily identify or that are directly traceable. Remember giving an example of the timber in the manufacturing of furniture. You can tell, I used 10 feet, I used 30 feet, etc. Indirect material is what cannot easily be apportioned to that particular table or the furniture that you are producing. And a good example is the glue. So you will buy glue in liters, that when you come to apportioning, you may use just a slight fraction of the glue out of the liter to a certain furniture item. So other examples of indirect materials, we talk of the spare parts, we talk of the servicing of the machinery that you are using, others like the stationery or the administrative costs, selling costs, marketing costs, etc. Now, if this is the case, then we need to, materials become so paramount in any production and it ought to be controlled. So the manager should make sure that what is being used is controlled to avoid what we call wastages. Later on, we'll come to process costing and you'll see how wastages occur in the factory line. Could be because of the inefficiency of the machine and it's not functioning optimally to give us 100%. And therefore, out of the materials that we feed in the production line, instead of getting the optimal, we incur some wastages in the production line. For example, if I bought 10 feet of raw timber, I don't expect, once we have smoothened them, to have the same size, isn't it? I'm going to lose something in form of sawdust, etc. So the person in charge of material control should ensure that we are getting the appropriate quantities, should be of good quality. Substandard materials will have a lot of wastages, should be in the right location, should be delivered at the appropriate time, and it should give us the most economic cost. There is a serious balance that the person in charge of materials is supposed to strike. So control may be exercised in a number of points. For example, when the choice is made on the type and the quality of material to be used, because that will determine whether we are going to get the right quantity when we process, or you are going to incur a lot of wastages in the production line. Then where the purchase order is being placed with the chosen supplier. The suppliers should be reliable, such that there is no idle time or wasted time when you request for supplies. There are some people who will buy in bulk and incur what we call the storage costs. But a good manager will always ensure that they have the reorder level in such a manner that it doesn't disadvantage the factory or the organization. Then on receipt of material from the supplier, you need to check the appropriateness of the quality and the quantity. Did we get what we ordered? So where the material is held in store, must be safe from theft and damage. At times we bulk materials in store, but if not necessary measures are not taken into, we might end up losing on the storage. Then where the material is issued from the store must be issued to the correct department and recorded appropriately. We'll be coming to the issuance and you'll see how it's supposed to be managed. Then where the material is being used for intended purpose, it must be utilized to produce the desired output. I remember telling you people the reason why the big two elephants, the retail outlets have gone down, how the Tuskys and the Nakumat, because they were unable to manage the supplies. So those people who are in the store took advantage. At times lorries could come. The manager of the particular outlet or supermarket just signs the invoices without confirming whether the merchandise has been received in the store. So the merchandise is redirected. So you pay twice. You lose the material and you lose the money. So you can imagine. So if this is done into several branches, you can imagine the far-reaching effect. That is what brought the two elephants down. And of course, they were unable to manage the suppliers. So by and by, you are losing twice and you are not able to meet your obligation. Sometimes it choked them and they were finished. So the material cost system becomes very paramount. So the company should ensure that they are operating effectively, or what we call the efficient level of expenditure, because lack of adequate control result in the incidences of excessive costs. And then, you are not a monopoly. So we are assuming that whatever you are producing has a competitor. If you produce your materials at a higher cost, and that's the challenge with our country, the local industries are producing, you can imagine, if you ferry some items from China, plus the shipping cost, all the taxes, excise duties, etc., an item could still cost less in Kenya than in China. It's supposed to be the opposite. Because we are doing it locally, it's supposed to be cheaper and then enjoy the competitiveness on the lower pricing. But apparently, the opposite is true. What is shipped in is cheaper. It's because China, and not let no one lie to you that China products are low standard. It depends on what you requested. China produces for nearly, even the European countries, they produce for America. They also produce for Africa. But if you request for a substandard product, that's what you'll get. So they leverage on low cost of production because there's a lot of labor. The population of China is high. So they could produce at less, and because of the advantage of the technology or the industrialization, it becomes cheaper. Actually, most of the costs are incurred during the shipping and the taxes, etc. So inventory management becomes very important. And this is something that the manager should be keen on because it is what makes now the cost or the selling cost of the particular product. So if we ensure that we allow adequate stock without incurring storage cost, and then we produce optimally, we'll have minimized the cost of having the inventory. And this now will give us leverage on lower pricing, and we score or scoop our part of the market. So inventory management is important, and it represents the largest single investment that a company will hold. Whether it is on the raw materials, work in progress is the materials that are not ready and they are not raw materials. So we've already started the process. So at any point in time, the organization should be able to account for the raw materials, what is work in progress, and what has been now converted into products or the finished goods. So to achieve the objectives of this, the manager has to make decisions regarding the commodities and when they are ordered or reordered. So use of material requirement planning. Now we have what we call the standard costing, which will be coming later on. And standard costing is a budget that the manager will put in place showing the bill of quantities or the materials that will be required at any point in time. So the list is in a priority order. So when we say descending order, we are asking for the most priority items going down. And this is where we apply what we call the Pareto technique of prioritization. So store ledger account is used now to maintain the information which is available. And the store's ledger will tell us what is in the store in form of the raw materials and what is in store in form of the finished goods. The store ledger will also have indicated the materials that have been issued in the production line. So it becomes easy. It's a tracker. A store ledger account is a tracker where we can get the summary of everything in the production line. Now, we can also use EOQ, and this is a model of ensuring that the company is operating optimally. And this gives us now the holding or the carrying costs. We have the ordering or the setup costs. We have the shortage cost. I have a formula for that. So to determine the economic order quantity, we use the following formula. So D is the annual demand. And this annual demand is given in units. These are not units. Then we have the cost of making one order, is the CO. And we have the holding cost per unit. So this economic order quantity formula will help us to ensure that whatever has been received by the organization is not, or it is striking a balance. We have the priority item not missing. We have the mid-level existing, or the items that will be needed. The medium requirement, we stock the medium. And what that are slow moving, or the items that we don't require. So the percentage is into 80, 15, 5. For the high cost, fast moving and high usage items. So for the fast moving goods, we need at least to have stocked 80%. This will ensure that we are not in deficit. So there are those materials that you can buy in bulk. If you look at the class C, they are slow moving, but always you find that the company has stocked 65%. Why 65? We need only 5, because this will hold a lot of costs. And this cost could have been interpreted into getting more materials in class A. So class B give us the medium moving goods, and they're supposed to be at 15%. So when you are a manager in the production line, this is for those people who are doing the purchasing and supply chain, you should ensure that at all times, the Pareto analysis has been done. And this will appear in your master list or the master schedule. So the master schedule should document, of course, after doing a trend analysis, you should be able to know that this is what we are receiving, this is what we are able to consume, this is what is fast moving, and this is what is not moving. So you will strike a balance of the 80, 15, 5. Now, when do you stock? And this is where the economic order quantity, although it has its assumptions, and we look into that, we need, there is what we call the periodic order system. And each organization will have set the interval at which they'd be asking. Some of them are just even the, what do we call, they are computerized. It is not human who control. So once the stock reaches a certain level, depending on the computer package that you are using, if, for example, your reorder level is, let's say, 1,000 units, and you had purchased 5,000 units, you've issued to the production line, you've strike 999 level. Immediately, the system triggers the supplier to supply more. But remember, they can supply more, and it is class C. So you should be very sure that whatever you are bringing in follows what we are calling the Pareto technique or the Pareto analysis. Then you have what we call the continuous review system. And this is where the firm now orders regularly according to how much it requires. Could be economical. But Japanese believes in just in time. It is the most economical. As long as you ensure that the supplier is reliable, they are closer, and they'll give you the items as and when you require. The good thing about just in time, it eliminates all the storage costs. So you are going to uptake 100% of what you really require for production. That's why you'll find if you go to China, like if you go to Shanghai, all the industries, especially the ones that complement each other, you know, there are those industries where the finished product of one product becomes the raw material of the other. You get? So these industries will be interlinked such that we are eliminating the idle time or the time spent in requesting for the materials, delivering, etc. It's just next door. Actually, you just need to put the materials on conveyor belt and they start getting into your production line. So you need to know that whoever is delivering is reliable, they are closer, communication is perfect, kuna kudanganyana, and you are doing what we call the single sourcing. Of course, when someone is producing for you, it becomes very easy to build that relationship. And most organizations in the 21st century are operating on what we call the memoranda of agreement. And then you have to ensure that there is quality control, because at this point, again, you can be taken advantage of because you are requiring them when you are using. So there isn't a lot of time spent in ensuring that the quality of the items that you requested for is what you gotten. That's why I'm talking of the strong relationship. In the memoranda, you have indicated that if you incur losses, there is a way, of course, that you're going to share those costs. Then how do we handle the materials? The manager needs to determine the equipment and how the materials will be handled. Some needs a lot of care. So some factories will use cranes, others will use, now a crane will be used where we are shipping in bulk. Let's say they are containers. Some use forklifts to move the pallets from one point to the other, or to offload from the reception to the store. Some use trucks. Some factories will use conveyor belts. Others will do what we call towing. So the lorry comes, unabadilishana kichwa, inawekwa kichwa ya factory, then it is taken to the store. So the factors that influence the type of equipment to be used is dependent on the material, the volume, frequency, the route of movement, method of storage employed, and the safety or hazards, the safety hazards that are involved. Then storage and issue of materials. This is now becomes key. And this is where we are talking of the material control. The person who is issuing should ensure that the materials are recorded well. By recording well, all essential bookkeeping requires that you know what is in the store, what has been issued, to which department, and for what reason. Are you together? Is it in the production line? Are we issuing to user department? For example, let's say at ZTEC, we have the support departments, but we know that our main business is training. So you'll find that in our store, we have that segment that is dedicated for training. So issuing the stationery, for example, let's say marker pen. Now it will be wrong if the store guy or the store clerk issues marker pen to someone who is at the reception. What for? They are not lecturers, so they don't need the marker pens. Are you getting? But if it is printing papers, it is easier because these people are the ones who are doing the printing. You are getting? So things like marker pens, dusters, etc., we expect them to be issued to the head of schools. So each head of school will receive their stock for their particular lecturers, and then they issue accordingly. Let's say each lecturer is given 2 marker pens per week, etc. Yeah, 1 duster per month, etc. This is what we mean by the stock control. So at this level, now it starts from the store. So the store clerk will have segmented the store such that this for the support department, this is for the main business. You get. Now, if you go to a manufacturing firm, now I've given an example of a service industry. In a manufacturing firm, the store will have the materials. There are those materials will be issued to different departments at different levels. If the link expires, just log in a new link. So we'll need to know the stock level and the control. And we'll be coming to the process costing and see how these materials are managed and issued. Yeah. So the stock taking procedure becomes key because at any point we'll be able to value what is in the stock or the valuation of the inventory as per the International Accounting Standard 2. And we have different methods. We have FIFO, we have LIFO, and we have the average cost method. We'll come to that later on. So the store location and layout makes it easier for the movement of access. For example, if you are applying the first in, first out method, and we know that this is the materials that were received earlier will be the first one to leave the store. You should have arranged your store in a manner that it's easily to access the materials that were received earlier. And we normally apply the FIFO for the materials that are highly perishable. If you issue what you've just received last, then you put the materials that were received earlier in jeopardy. Chances of them meeting or reaching the expiry period are very high, and it's the organization that will lose. If you have a lazy store manager, they might decide to make the work easier and you lose. That's why you need a trusted person. Yeah. So the location of the store should ensure that it is near. If you are to apply the just-in-point method, the just-in-time method, where the point of collection is next door, then it becomes very easy for us to manage the stock levels. Now, management must make decisions because these are strategic level control. So they should ensure that they are maximizing on the efficiency to ensure that whatever is needed is available as and when it is required. There are chances that if you have or you exercise delays in the, for example, receiving the class A materials, what will happen? You're going to have the laborers just idling in the farm, but you are still paying them their salary. So who loses? You lose on the production and you lose on the wages or the salaries that you are paying. So you need to know what is the minimum stock level, what is the maximum, what is the reorder, and what is the reorder quantity.